Your fertilizer bill went up again this month, and it's going to go up again next month. And here's the part most people don't realize. The more products you buy, the less control you actually have over your plants, because most fertilizers you see on shelves, they don't fix your plants, they force them. Fast growth, weak structure, short-term results, and then your plant crashes again and you're back buying more. That's not gardening. That's a system designed to keep you dependent. But here is what they are not telling you. Millions of people are quietly taking control of their soil, their plants, and their results using simple natural methods that cost almost nothing, and in many cases bringing plants back that look completely dead. Now here's the uncomfortable question. What if your plant isn't dying but reacting to imbalance? Too much fertilizer, too much water, too much interference. Because plants don't fail from lack of products, they fail from lack of balance. And once that balance is gone, no amount of store-bought solutions will fix it. So what if you could reverse that? What if you could take a plant that's yellowing, weak, barely surviving, and bring it back without chemicals, without spending more money, and without guessing? That's exactly what we're doing today. Today, I'm showing you 7 natural fertilizers that work almost instantly, and I promise you, number 4 is the one your local garden center hopes you never find out about, because once you use it, you stop needing most of what they sell. Now, before we go further, I want you to be honest. Have you ever had a plant that slowly declined? Leaves turning yellow, growth stopping, and no matter what you tried, it just didn't recover? Drop it in the comments. Tell me what happened, because I read every single one, and most of the time, the problem is not what people think it is. All right, let's start with fertilizer number 1, rice water. Now picture this. Every time you rinse rice, you're pouring away a liquid full of nutrients your plants are missing. B vitamins, trace minerals, natural starch. If your plant looks weak, slow, or lifeless, this is your answer. At the store, you'd buy a growth booster. But rice water, you already have it, and it works not because it forces growth, but because it restores balance in the soil. Now here's something most gardening channels won't tell you. Do not use it fresh. Let it sit for 24 to 48 hours. That slight fermentation builds beneficial microbes, and those microbes are what actually bring your soil back to life. Now let's move to fertilizer number 2, banana peels. This is where most people underestimate what they throw away every day. Banana peels are one of the richest natural sources of potassium, and potassium controls flowering, fruiting, and plant strength. So if your plant is blooming weakly or producing small fruits, this is your answer. Now think about the cost. Bloom boosters at the store, you pay for them, but banana peels, you throw them away, and yet they can do the same job naturally. Cut them, soak them, or bury them into the soil, and over time they release nutrients exactly where your plant needs them. Now here's the inside detail that makes the difference. Cut them into very small pieces, because the smaller they are, the faster they break down, and the faster your plant responds. Now, if just these 2 already made you realize how much you've been wasting every single day, hit the subscribe button right now, because this channel exists to give you real strategies that save money and actually work, not to sell you expensive products. Now we move into the fertilizers that change everything, because these don't just feed your plants, they activate recovery. This is where you stop maintaining plants and start reviving them. Let's go to fertilizer number 3, used coffee grounds. Now imagine a plant that looks tired, leaves pale, growth slow, no energy, and then within days, new growth starts to appear. Stronger color, healthier leaves. That's what coffee grounds can do when used correctly. If you've been struggling with plants that look weak or underfed, this is your answer. Coffee grounds are rich in nitrogen, and nitrogen is what drives leaf growth and overall plant energy. But here's the mistake most people make. They dump large amounts directly on top of the soil. Too much, too fast, and that creates imbalance. Here is something most gardening channels won't tell you. Coffee grounds are powerful, but they must be used lightly. Mix them into the soil, or better, compost them first. That's the difference between feeding your plant and stressing it. Now let's talk about the financial side. Nitrogen fertilizers are one of the most commonly purchased products, but if you drink coffee, you already have a free source, and over time, that adds up. Now let's move to fertilizer number 4, and this is the one most people completely ignore: eggshells. Now picture a plant with weak stems, leaves curling, growth unstable. Most people think it's watering, but often it's calcium deficiency. And calcium is what builds structure, strength, resistance. At the store, you would buy supplements, but eggshells, you throw them away. Crush them, grind them, mix them into the soil, and slowly they reinforce your plant from the inside. Now here's the key detail. Eggshells are not instant like liquid fertilizers. They are slow release, which means they build long-term strength. So while other fertilizers boost growth, eggshells prevent collapse. And here's the expert tip. Grind them into a fine powder. The finer they are, the faster your plant can use them. Now let's move to fertilizer number 5, compost tea. This is where things shift from feeding plants to rebuilding the entire system. Now imagine taking compost, something already rich in nutrients, and turning it into a liquid that plants can absorb instantly. That's compost tea. But here's what makes it powerful. It doesn't just add nutrients, it adds life. Beneficial bacteria, microorganisms, the things that actually make soil work. If you've been struggling with plants that seem stuck, not growing, not dying, just not improving, this is your answer. Because sometimes the issue is not what you add, it's what's missing. And what's missing is life in the soil. Now let's talk about the cost. Soil enhancers, microbial boosters, liquid feeds, all expensive. But compost tea, you can make it at home, and it often works better. Now here's the inside detail. Use it fresh because microbial life is strongest right after brewing. That's when it has the biggest impact. Now step back for a moment. Look at what you have so far. Rice water for recovery, banana peels for flowering, coffee grounds for growth, eggshells for strength, compost tea for soil life. This is not random. This is a complete system, but we're not done yet. Because the next 2 fertilizers on this list are the ones that most people never think about, and they're often the difference between a plant that survives and a plant that fully recovers. Now we move into the final 2 fertilizers, and this is where most people get surprised because these are not the ones you see in typical gardening advice. These are the ones people overlook or simply don't understand. But once you start using them correctly, they change everything. Let's go to fertilizer number 6, Epsom salt solution. Now imagine a plant that looks like it's doing almost okay, but something feels off. Leaves slightly yellow, growth slower than expected, new leaves smaller than they should be. That's often not a nitrogen problem. It's magnesium deficiency, and magnesium is critical for chlorophyll production, the process that allows plants to turn light into energy. Without it, your plant can't fully function. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most people respond by adding more fertilizer. But if magnesium is missing, that doesn't solve the problem. Epsom salt provides magnesium directly, and when used properly, you can see results surprisingly fast. Now let's talk about cost. Magnesium supplements at the store, not cheap, but Epsom salt, affordable and widely available. Now here's the expert tip. Dilution matters. Never apply it directly in high concentration. Mix a small amount with water and use it lightly because, like everything else on this list, balance is key. Now let's move to fertilizer number 7, and this is the one almost nobody expects, diluted fish tank water. Now picture this. You clean a fish tank and you're about to throw that water away, but that water is full of nutrients, nitrogen from fish waste, trace minerals, organic compounds, and most importantly, it's already in a form plants can absorb. If you've been struggling with plants that seem lifeless, slow, or lacking energy, this is your answer because this is not just fertilizer, it's pre-processed nutrition. Now let's talk about the financial side. Liquid fertilizers designed to do the same thing are expensive, but fish tank water, it's free and it works immediately. Now here's the inside detail. Only use water from healthy tanks, no chemicals, no treatments, because the quality of the water determines the result. Now step back and look at the full system you now have. Rice water, gentle recovery, banana peels, flowering and fruiting, coffee grounds, growth, eggshells, strength, compost tea, soil life, Epsom salt, magnesium boost, fish tank water, fast balanced nutrition. This is not just a list. This is a complete recovery system. But here's the real question. Why do these work so effectively? Why can something so simple outperform expensive products? Because we're going to break down the exact reason, the science behind it, so you understand not just what to use, but why it works. And once you understand that, you stop guessing forever. So why do these simple everyday things work? While expensive fertilizers often fail to deliver long-term results, this is where everything clicks. Because once you understand this, you stop relying on products and you start controlling the system. Here's the truth. Most people never learn. Plants don't just need nutrients. They need a living environment, a balanced system in the soil. Because nutrients alone are not enough. They have to be available, accessible, and supported by microbial life. Now think about what happens with chemical fertilizers. They deliver nutrients fast, directly, aggressively, but they don't build the system. So the plant grows quickly but weakly. And over time, the soil becomes less active, less alive, more dependent. That's why results don't last. But natural fertilizers work differently. They don't just feed the plant, they feed the soil, and the soil feeds the plant. That's the difference. Now let's connect this to what you've seen. Rice water feeds microbes and provides light nutrients. Banana peels break down slowly and release potassium. Coffee grounds add nitrogen and organic matter. Eggshells provide calcium over time. Compost tea introduces beneficial bacteria directly. Epsom salt supplies magnesium instantly. Fish tank water delivers already processed nutrients. Individually, each one helps, but together they create balance. And balance is what brings plants back. Now let's talk about something most people overlook. Timing, because even the best fertilizer used at the wrong time gives weak results. So here's how to think about it. If your plant is stressed, yellow leaves, weak structure, slow growth, start with recovery. Rice water, compost tea. If your plant is stable but not growing, add support. Coffee grounds, fish tank water. If your plant is developing, budding, flowering, fruiting, use targeted input. Banana peels, Epsom salt. If your plant needs long-term strength, use eggshells. Now here's the mistake most people make. They try to use everything at once. Too much input, too fast, and that creates imbalance. The goal is not maximum feeding, it's correct feeding. Now let's simplify this into one clear framework. Ask yourself one question. What does my plant need right now? Not what you want to add, but what the plant actually needs. Because once you answer that correctly, everything becomes easier. Now let's talk about observation because plants always communicate. Yellow leaves, check nutrients and moisture. Slow growth, check nitrogen. Weak stems, check calcium. For flowering, check potassium. Once you understand these signals, you stop guessing, and that's when your results become consistent. Now step back. You don't need expensive products. You don't need complicated systems. You need understanding because once you understand how the system works, you can use what you already have to get better results than most people ever do. Now let's turn everything you've learned into something you can actually use because this is where most people fail. Not because they don't know enough, but because they don't have a system. They try things randomly. One day rice water, next day coffee grounds, then something else. No structure, no timing, no consistency. And without a system, even the best methods feel unreliable. So let's simplify this into 3 rules you can follow every time. Rule number 1, preparation fix the foundation first. Before you add anything, check the environment. Because no fertilizer works in the wrong conditions. Too much water, roots suffocate. Too little airflow, soil becomes inactive. Compacted soil, nutrients can't move. So here's what you do first. Check moisture. If soil is already wet, do nothing. Check drainage. Water should move through, not sit. Loosen soil if needed, because natural fertilizers work best when the system is balanced. Now here's something most people miss. If your plant is severely stressed, fix the environment first, then feed. Otherwise, you're feeding a system that can't respond. Rule number 2, scaling apply the right input at the right time. Each fertilizer has a purpose. So instead of using everything, you match it to the problem. Here's the simple breakdown. Rice water recovery, coffee grounds growth, banana peels flowering, eggshell structure, compost tea soil life, Epsom salt magnesium boost, fish tank water balance nutrition. Now here's the key. You don't need more, you need precision. because the right input at the right time always beats random effort. Rule number 3, maintenance do less, but do it correctly. This is where most people overdo everything. They see improvement and they add more. More fertilizer, more water, more changes, and that's what breaks the system because plants don't need constant intervention. They need stability. So here's the approach. Apply lightly, observe, adjust slowly. That's it. Now let's talk about 2 details that make a huge difference. First, frequency. Natural fertilizers are not one-time solutions. They work through repetition, small amounts over time. Second, rotation. You don't need to use everything at once. You rotate inputs. Week 1, rice water. Week 2, compost tea. Week 3, light coffee grounds. Week 4, rest. This creates rhythm, and plants respond to rhythm. Now, this is the part most people never see coming because everything looks like it's working. You've applied the right fertilizers, you followed the system, your plant starts improving, and then slowly something goes wrong again. Not immediately, not obviously, but gradually. Growth slows, leaves change, results plateau, and most people respond the same way. They add more fertilizer, more water, more adjustments, and that's exactly what causes the problem. So let's break down the 3 biggest mistakes that quietly destroy your results, even when you're doing almost everything right. Mistake number 1, using too much. This is the fastest way to reverse progress because natural fertilizers are still inputs, and too much input creates imbalance. Rice water builds up, coffee grounds accumulate, organic matter increases faster than the soil can process. And instead of feeding the plant, you overwhelm the system. Now here's the rule. If something works, use less, not more, because consistency beats intensity. Mistake number 2, fixing the wrong problem. This is where most people get stuck. A plant shows symptoms and they guess. Yellow leaves, needs more fertilizer. Slow growth, needs more water. But those are guesses and often wrong ones, because the same symptom can have multiple causes. Yellow leaves could be too much water, too little nitrogen, poor drainage, root stress. So instead of reacting, you need to diagnose. Look at the environment, look at the pattern, then act. Because the right solution applied to the wrong problem still fails. Mistake number 3, ignoring the environment. This is the hidden factor behind most failures, because fertilizers don't work in isolation. They work within conditions, light, water, soil, airflow. If any of those are off, results drop. For example, too little light, growth slows no matter what you add. Too much water, roots can't absorb nutrients. Poor airflow, soil becomes inactive. So instead of adding more, you adjust the environment because that's where real control comes from. Now let's talk about 2 small details most people overlook, but they matter. First, smell. If your soil smells sour or unpleasant, that's a sign of imbalance. Too much organic matter, too little oxygen. And the solution is not more input, it's pause. Let the system recover. Second, surface buildup. If you see layers forming on top of the soil, that's a sign you're over-applying. Again, the solution is less, not more. Now here's the most important shift you can make. Stop asking, what should I add next? Start asking, what does my plant actually need right now? Because once you make that shift, everything becomes simple. Now step back and look at where you are. You understand what to use, when to use it, how to apply it, what to avoid. That's everything most people never figure out, and that's why they keep struggling. But now you're not guessing anymore. You're making decisions. And that's the difference between random results and consistent success. Now let's lock this in, because this is where everything you've learned either becomes real results or just another idea you never act on. At this point, you don't just have a list of natural fertilizers, you have control. Control over your plants, control over your soil, control over your results. And once you understand that, you stop depending on products and you start building systems. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Plants rarely die suddenly. They decline slowly from imbalance. And most people try to fix that imbalance too late or with the wrong approach. But now you know how to catch it early and, more importantly, how to fix it correctly. So let's simplify everything into one clear action plan you can use immediately. Not 10 steps, not something complicated, just something you can actually do today. Step 1, find one plant, not all your plants, just one. The one that looks weak, yellowing, slow, struggling, because that's where you start. Step 2, observe it. Not quickly, actually look. Is it weak and pale? Is it not growing? Is it failing to flower? Because that tells you what it needs. Step 3, choose one solution, not all 7, just one. If it's weak, start with rice water. If it needs growth, use coffee grounds lightly. If it lacks strength, add eggshells. If soil feels dead, use compost tea. If flowering is weak, add banana peels. If leaves are pale, try Epsom salt. If it needs fast recovery, use fish tank water. That's it. Simple. Step 4, apply lightly, do not overdo it. Remember, small input, consistent results. Step 5, wait. This is where most people fail. They don't give the system time to respond. Natural recovery is not instant like chemicals, but it is stable, stronger, more reliable. So give it a few days, then observe again. Step 6, adjust, not react. Adjust slowly based on what you see. Now let's zoom out one last time. Most people spend money every season trying to fix the same problems. Buy fertilizer, see short-term improvement, repeat. But what you've just learned breaks that cycle. You're not buying solutions anymore. You're creating them from things you already have. That's leverage. That's efficiency. That's long-term thinking. Now let me make this very clear. You do not need to try everything today. You need one action, one plant, one solution, because that's what creates momentum. And once you see a plant recover, everything changes. You stop doubting. You stop overthinking. You start trusting the system. Now, this isn't just a video. It's a plan to stop wasting money and start growing smarter. So here's my question for you. Which fertilizer are you going to try first? And what problem are you trying to fix? Drop it in the comments, because when you say it, you commit to it. And when you commit, you follow through. If this story changed the way you look at the natural world around you, please subscribe and like the channel. We are unearthing the secrets that the big industries have tried to bury. Cultivate your future. The next treasure of knowledge will be open soon.